This video is sponsored by Shopify.
We all have an expiration date. Everything does. And I don't let that stop me.
I'm 59.
Wow.
私は例えば父が早く亡くなったと、やっぱ父から学ぶものが逆になかったんですね。
And every day you got to learn something. You can't just lie in bed and eat cookies. You have to get up and get going.
I've traveled to over 15 countries this year and interviewed close to 1,000 strangers on the streets of each of them. And today, I'm going to share with you the greatest interviews that I've recorded throughout this year, featuring the best love, life, health, and career advice from some of the oldest, wisest, and most diverse people you'll find on this planet. If you could go back in time and relive any age in your life, is there one in particular you'd go back to?
No.
Oh, 30 to 40. That's when I got married. I traveled a lot. My wife and I had our children. It was a good time. We had a nice home. I had a good job. It was good.
What is something that we tend to prioritize a lot when we're younger, but that as we get older, we realize it's not important?
We worry about what everybody else thinks of us and what we look like, our cosmetics and our hair and our face and our clothes.
Yeah.
You guys don't have to worry about it so much, but we women, we're encouraged to spend a lot of money on it. It's a waste of time.
Like the new car, the big house, the fancy clothes, those things come and go.
I don't know. I think everyone settles down too quickly. I think you need to have a home. You think you need to have a family. And once you do that, you're in it. You should do a whole lot of stuff first.
Money's a means to pursue your passions.
Well, what's important is really it's your health. If you don't have a good health, you're not going to enjoy life.
I think you need to invest more time in your family and your friends and make sure you hang on to them, because that's the other thing. As you get older, you lose those friends. They start having cancer issues, getting dementia, and before you know it, you're down to a few.
So this all started in my hometown of Montreal, Canada. Back at the beginning of the year, I started interviewing people every weekend, asking strangers to take 2 to 3 minutes max to speak to me and share some of their best pieces of life advice. If you could give any piece of advice to someone younger than you, what would you tell them?
If you have an idea of something that you want to do, I wouldn't put it off. The golden years are not that golden. People say you can do all of this after you're retired, but you never know what's going to happen to you. So while you're healthy, you should go do things, meet people, travel the world if that's what you want to do.
Be brave, but be true to yourself and be kind.
Get up, get out there, look around, put some effort in.
Yeah.
Every day you got to grow, and every day you got to learn something. You can't just lie in bed and eat cookies. You have to get up and get going.
After Montreal, my next stop was New York City. New York City has some of the most diverse and interesting characters on this planet. And one thing that I've learned over the course of the year, going to a city where most people have dealt with something like the people in New York have, makes the interviews a whole lot more interesting.
For me, my biggest regret was I wanted to be an actor. That was my dream since I was in elementary school. I was in all the school plays, and I had a modicum of success when I was in my late teens, early 20s. I was on a few TV shows, and I was sort of almost on the cusp of making it. I guess I got scared, and it was I need to work. I need to support myself, obviously. I was the quintessential starving artist. I was sleeping on friends' couches. I was bartending. I was a server, whatever, doing what I had to do so I can go on auditions during the day. And I kind of gave up on that dream and got the typical corporate 9-to-5 job. And that's my biggest regret in my life, because I was 20, let's say 22. I should have really kept at it and pursued it, because that's all I've ever wanted to do was be an actor. And now I have some lame corporate job, and it's yeah, I can pay my rent and whatever, live, but what is the point at the end of the day? You recognize that time is so short. That's the only one thing that you can't get back. Sort of hyper aware of that now. When you're 22, you think you're gonna live forever. I got my whole life ahead of me. No, you have to do it then. Try, fail. There's nothing to be ashamed of with failure. Just learn from it and then move on and just try a whole bunch of different things. That would be my biggest advice to a young person.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone younger than you, what would you say?
We both love to travel, and I think we waited until we thought, oh, we can afford that. It would have been much more fun to travel when we were younger at less nice places. So we didn't start really traveling until we were about 50.
Yeah.
Yes, we can afford nicer places to go, but it would have been much more fun to have done some backpack stuff.
Make sure you do what you enjoy doing. Don't just get a job. Have a passion for what you're doing.
Early into the year, I went to Japan with my best friend, conveniently also named Will. We traveled to Asia for 4 months. We spent most of our time in Japan, and that was one of the most eye-opening experiences for the interviews because Japan, if you may or may not know, does not have that many people who speak English. Now, I don't speak Japanese, so for the first time, I had to turn to you guys and use my audience mainly from YouTube and Instagram and TikTok to be my translators. As a result, even though I didn't understand the majority of them while they were being filmed, when I look back on them, I realized they were pretty valuable. So here are some of the best ones from my time in Japan. What is something that when we're younger, we tend to put a lot of priority on, but as we get older, we realize isn't actually that important?
そんなに気にすることはあんまりないと思うけどね。そんなに重要じゃなかったようなことはないと思う。何かしら役に立ってるから。何の役にも立ってないようなことは多分ないんだと思う。良いことも悪いこともね、いろんな経験になっていくから。
私は例えば父が早く亡くなったと。でもう私は25歳の時に父が亡くなりまして、やっぱ父から学ぶものが逆になかったんですね。でそれを毎日気にかけてやってます。だから父が理想みたいな感じで、だからそれを毎日やることでなんだな商売ができてるんじゃないかなと思ってます。もう父はもう今いないので、その父がいたと思ってやっぱ頑張ってるような感じですかね。
あんまりこだわらなくていい。若い時ってこだわりがすごくあったような気がするのね。今はあんまりこだわりなく自由に生きた方がいいんじゃないかなって、前はすごく狭いかったっていうか考え方が。でも今はやっぱり年取ってきてそんなこだわらなくてもちょっとね自由に生きた方がいいんじゃないかなって、そんな感じがありますね今はね。
努力しかないよな。一番好きなんだけどね、女の股の力とか一番好きなこと、だけど本当努力しかない。
努力いっぱいされたんですか？
いっぱいした。いっぱい股の力を借りてあるセレブのマダムが昔教えてくれたことが、いい男の3つの条件。ワン、リッチ。2、エッチが上手。3、ユーモアを持つ。
If you could give one piece of advice to anybody younger than you, what would you tell them? With your wife watching right there.
人生は経験ぞ。
そうだ。そう、それ。
私はやっぱやらずに、やらなかったことに後悔することとかがあるので、例えば私もお客さんのサービスでやらなかったことに後悔すること多いので、とにかくやってみることが大事だと思います。はい。
やっぱ出会った人に大切に生きていけたらいいなって、なんていうのかな、出会った人に対して大切にしていってほしいなって。やっぱりそのかけがえないと思うの。出会ってっていうか、こうやって出会うのもね、何十万の中の人に出会ってるんですよね、私たちね。だからそういった出会いってすごくなんていうか貴重っていうか、何万人の中の一人ですよね、こうやって出会うのもね。だからその出会いってすごく、大切にしたらいいかなって。
One thing I've learned, and something that has been heightened over the last year, is just how many people are really unhappy about their careers. Now, I grew up in Canada where your career basically makes up the better part of your life. Now, most of us accept working in a job that we don't enjoy, but there are some Westerners who think differently. They decide that their corporate existence in North America is not worth their time, their money, or their unhappiness. And so they move out to different parts of the world. And one of those places that a lot of them actually move to is Bangkok. How old are you?
You're not allowed to ask those questions to a senior like me, man. I'm 51.
I'm 59.
Wow.
You know?
Wait, how did you just pull that out?
How did I pull it out?
What do you do for a living?
I retired to move here and then kind of got bored of being retired. And so I started a YouTube channel, man.
What's it called? Plug it.
Retired Working for You. Check it out, man.
Why did you move to Bangkok?
Man, I've been dreaming about it my whole life. I came here for the first time in '94 and fell in love with the place and kept coming back year after year for vacation. And then finally just decided to make it happen.
Long story, probably. I've been working in the film and TV industry for over 20 years. Originally moved to LA to kind of chase my dreams when I was a young teenager, and then ultimately ended up getting a job for Netflix to run their post-production department and help start up their studio for all original content in Asia. That brought me out to Asia, then decided after I left my job, it was time to come to Thailand.
Why did you quit your job?
I would say mostly because it was time to try something new. Every 4 or 5 years or so, I start to get a little bit of an itch to live life a little differently. I think I was spending a lot of time, especially during the pandemic, sitting in one room in front of a computer. I had spent maybe 3 years almost doing that, and I thought, I'm not living life anymore, and I need to try something different and get out of this sort of monotonous sort of routine.
You act and seem like you're a lot younger. There's things that you do that you think make you feel younger.
We've lived in a world to where we've been pretty much programmed to follow directives since we were a child. Once we break away from all of those past beliefs, then we free ourselves and we are able to follow our gut feeling. And once we start exercising, following our gut, we tend to go a different direction. You start walking slowly, and then you start to skip a little bit, and next thing you know, you're running because you realize that what you were doing before or what you were living before was a lie.
I mentioned earlier in this video how a lot of us are not happy with our lives, specifically not happy with our careers. Now, regardless of if it is your career or another part of your life, most of us are unhappy because of 3 reasons. 1, we don't know who we are. 2, we don't know what we want. And 3, even if we do know those first 2 things, we have no idea how we plan on making that happen.
I wake up in the morning, I'll go out for a walk, and I'll just say, you know what? I'm just going to talk into my diary about what I feel or what I've experienced. And that allows me to free myself from the thoughts of what I should be doing.
A few years ago, I decided to create a product based on my own personal experiences that is a series of answers to the questions that the majority of us face when we set off on a journey to set big goals for ourselves and actually achieve them. That product is our 365-day workbook, a fully guided journal that is designed to help you build the mindset, tools, and systems to completely change your life this year. Now, to sell this product, we used a Shopify store. Shopify offers an easy-to-use, all-in-one commerce platform for anybody, regardless of your technical ability and your experience, to start, grow, and manage a business. Like me, Shopify is Canadian, but they power millions of businesses in over 175 different countries. I started building my website using their key offer. I went super frugal on the website by using one of their free templates until recently, where I decided to reinvest into the business and purchase one of their customized templates. I then played around with it, changed the colors, changed the font, changed the style so it would adapt to my brand, and that actually really helped me improve the sales on my product. Now, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur / future side hustler and you want to get your business started, then head over to shopify.com/Sprouht to get a free trial today. And if you're interested in changing your life this year and also getting a glimpse into what one of Shopify's websites does look like, head over to our website using the link in the description to get your hands on a limited edition of one of our 365-day workbooks before the new year kicks in.
People love to focus on the end goal and the big dream of what it could become. And that's awesome, and it's a key part of it. But I think what I've learned is the difference between success and failure is often just taking that next step. Even though it might feel a little bit boring, it might feel like a bit of the grind, but you just got to take baby steps to get to that end dream, or else you'll never get there.
After spending those 4 months in Asia, I came back to Canada with a different way of interviewing. While I was in Asia and I was speaking to more people who did not speak the same language as me, I had to be more strategic. So again, I turned to you guys. So I would message you guys on Instagram and I would ask if anybody's in Tokyo, for example, and if you wanted to take 15 to 20 minutes to speak to me and hang out with me and do an interview. And so most of my interviews ended up being in parks where there was no time limit, and I got more comfortable speaking for 10, 15, 20, even 30 minutes at a time. And so once you do that, it's really hard to go back to a 1 to 3 minute interview. So the first video that I filmed with this newfound style back in Canada was about a topic that really interests a lot of us. Everybody wants it and needs it, and that is love. What is love to you?
For me, love was always a sense of finding someone who brings out the best in you, having a sense of commitment to the other person for better or for worse.
Being caring of one another, accepting each other for
what faults they may have.
We're honest. We tell each other everything, and without that, I don't think love exists. Because that leads to caring for somebody.
Except when you go and buy a new watch.
Well,
didn't tell me about
yeah,
that
well, I'm
one.
buying you one as well. So.
Love is feeling fulfilled. Love is feeling calm, being seen. And that's really in any relationship. And we have to work at all of our relationships, not just what we consider the big one. I could nitpick to death. I choose not to do that because it doesn't expand the relationship.
I was someone that, always looked for approval on the outside, be it from my parents, my teachers, and especially from my boyfriends and then my first husband. And after my divorce, I lived alone for 8 years in a little apartment, but they were the best growth years of my life.
How would you recommend someone who's young in today's dating world to find love, true love?
Not on the internet, not swiping right. In your circles, at your health club, at your yoga studio. What you are focused on, what you're interested in is where other like-minded people are.
You're always looking for that piece of the jigsaw puzzle to complete you.
Yeah.
When you should be complete to begin with. So no rushing into marriage, and a lot of kids do because it's important to be in a couplehood situation, but there's no need to rush.
I've interviewed a lot of people from a lot of cultures and a lot of ages in this year. What I've learned is that the older you get, the more enriching your experiences are and the more advice you have to share. But I was really looking to interview more people above the age of 90. That's when I got this idea that in Montreal there is a park that is surrounded by retirement homes. We quickly went to that park for a weekend and found some of the oldest and healthiest and wisest people that you will ever find walking the face of the earth. What does it feel like to be 95 and 89?
We don't feel our age at all times. We each have certain issues, but we're lucky to be walking and out in the sun on a day like today.
Yeah, we're doing the best we can. We have a lot of friends who have passed and a lot of friends who are sick, and we're fine, so we're lucky. And we're lucky we're together, married 67 years. We have a lovely family and lots to be thankful for.
What is one thing that when you were younger, you put a lot of priority on, and as you've gone older, you realized wasn't that important?
Things, tchotchkes, like now I have a house full of beautiful dishes and vases and things, and my kids don't want them. They have small houses. It's not that important to have the best of everything. Don't look at other people.
What is one thing that when you were younger, you put a lot of priority on, and when you got older, you realized it wasn't that important?
I don't have any time to think about those things. I'm just quite happy with it.
But he does waken in the morning and looks over and says, "Oh, are you still here?"
If you could give one piece of advice to anyone younger than you, what would you say?
Just enjoy life. And if there's something that's distasteful, stay away from it.
First of all, I say one thing, stay in school. Get as much education as you can. Make yourself valuable, but make sure that you're the best that you can be. That's something I wish I had done. Okay? And God knows what I could have been. It's very hard for kids today. Make yourself the best that you can be. That's my advice. And then your life will be okay.
Lead a clean life. Don't do things you're not supposed to do. And try to be as positive as you can.
Yeah, right.
Because tomorrow's going to be a better day unless you make it a worse day.
Same.
If I've learned anything this year from interviewing close to 1,000 people around the world, it is really to just be more open-minded about having a conversation. All of the people that I interviewed, they're not superstars, they're not famous. They're normal people living their lives, walking along the streets, the same streets as you, yet they have so much wisdom to impart. So my advice from my learnings is to seek advice. Head over to the nearest park near you, find somebody sitting on a park bench and start a conversation and ask them about what advice they would give to a stranger would be. That's probably how you're gonna get the most out of life. Thank you so much for watching. We have a lot planned in 2024, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Will, and as always, it's a mindset. See you next time.